guys, my fellow music heads. Today is a super exciting day for me. Super excited because I get to interview my favorite guitarist in New York City, Gideon King of Gideon King City Blog. So we're gonna figure out today, how does he make the music that he does? We're gonna get really personal with him and we get to watch him play as well. So why don't you come and join me? Hola, Gideon.
Hey, I was just writing something.
Yeah, I'm sure you were. I could hear you all the way downstairs from the lobby.
That's what they all say.
So good to see you. Thank you for doing this.
Yep.
Appreciate it so much. I'm so excited to talk to you about your process and how you go about making the beautiful music that you do. So let's get to it.
Let's do it.
I've wanted to talk to you for a very long time, so I know that I'm in the presence of, I would say, a guitar titan for sure.
Okay.
One of the things that attracted me to your music was the solo that you created and played on the song For Our Own Sake.
Okay.
I remember being on Instagram and I scrolled up and that dun, 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 that first beginning lick,
Right.
I was glued. It
Right,
was
right.
super instant for me.
Right.
That's when I said to myself, this guy, he's a genius. As I started to research who you were
Right.
and the band and how far you guys have come along, and the following that you guys have is major. And I've experienced
By the
that
way, if you're
when
going
I've
to call
gone to
me a
the
genius,
shows.
I want to do 10 interviews a day. let's just do constant interviews all day. If you're going to use that type of language, let's do it all
Well,
day.
the reason why I'm bringing it up is
Right.
because as I came across reading all the articles about who you were, the Washington Post and the Huffington Post had said and described you as a lyrical and musical genius. Do you ever feel, when you read those articles, pressure from the press to outdo yourself?
No, because everything everybody says is bullshit, and I'm not even knocking on the door to the doorway to the doorway of anything approaching musical genius. I grew up in a musical family. My brother was a prodigy, a jazz playing prodigy, and it's almost insulting for me to even think of myself in those terms. And I'm not saying that in one of these sort of acts of false humility, just because
Right.
you're in an interview and you have to appear like you don't love yourself too much. But I really mean it. Technically, I lack so many things musically.
Really?
Yeah, I do. And there's so many elements of my musicianship that are lacking. That being said, I do believe I have a unique approach, and I do believe that I do have something to say musically, otherwise I wouldn't be right here
Doing
with you
this, yeah.
and doing this all the time.
Right.
But no, I don't feel any pressure. Actually, if you were to ask me, I'm sort of extending your question or extrapolating
Sure.
your question. If you were to ask me where I feel pressure musically, besides the normal nerves, cold hands, sweaty palm, whatever it is, fight or flight syndrome you get from playing publicly, I would say the only pressure that I ever genuinely feel musically is to impress the people that work in my band. So that when I write a song, sometimes I'm sort of, I'm sitting watching the Yankee game and I'm sort of writing a song and I say like, Brian's not gonna like this. Jeff Alita's gonna look at Mike and Mike's gonna look at Caleb and they're gonna be like, all right, well, we'll sing it. You know what I mean? But I want I want to show up with stuff where they say, ooh, wait a minute, I wish I wrote this. I wrote one song recently that I do believe is good. And Mike, well, he has two names, Mike, Sunny Step, whatever, Sunny Step. He said, man, you're such an asshole. And I knew I had achieved something,
Yeah.
I knew. He said, he said, I'm so pissed at you. And I said, why? He said, this really is a good song. And I was like,
Yeah,
I pissed him off. And so so the pressure that I feel is to impress people enough with what I'm writing to inspire them so that they invest in the song so that the song is better. And you're only as good as your weakest link, so each one of those links has to be sort of, connected. Otherwise, it's like a failure party.
Phrase apart.
Yeah.
When you're creating your music, your arrangements, are you the only person that creates everything, or do you have other people help you?
I would say that I'm the key driver, instrumental, no pun intended, the key driver in putting together the skull and bones. I do write the lyrics. I do write the chord changes. I pretty much come up with the form, and that sounds like a lot, but it's actually not. The analogy I would draw is that sort of I sort of bring the patient, to the emergency room, and then all the surgeons come in.
That's a good analogy.
And all the surgeons start, Mike and Lita and Caleb will start working on 3-part harmonies, and Brian will sort of tidy up the harmonic jagged edges of the tune. We have a couple great bass players, but our bass player will sort of, shape his side of things, and then, we have 2 percussionist drummers who will shape their side of things. So I think I get the skull and bones together, and the patient is sort of withering. And then I bring the patient into the emergency room, and everybody starts doing their thing. So I definitely write the music in terms of lyrics and in terms of chord changes. But what comes out in the end is without a doubt a function of collective efforts. And again, I don't say that in some false proclamation of how democratic my process is in making music. Because I don't know if it is or isn't. I also don't give a shit. But I guess what I would say is, if you were to spend a day in our studio, which you're welcome to come do with us out in the woods, you'd come with us and you'd see that there is a tremendous amount of input from each person. And that is when we have a really good tune, that's what makes a good tune. And in the old days, in my first album, which was really mediocre, City Blog was mediocre, it was more of just me. And it was kind of sucky, for lack of a more, technical musical expression, because it was just me. The second album was me / others, and then now the music we've been producing is I write the music lyrics, and I really sort of let an amount of chaos take place in the studio, and that chaos is just weaving in different people's talents, and these are killer musicians, not good, killer. So yeah, I mean that's sort of where I fit in and where they fit in.
So I have been impacted by something that you said in your last show at Joe's Pub.
Oh God.
And it was impactful because what you said was true. And what you had said was, you said to the whole audience, and everybody was with their mouth open, and you said, music is the only thing that I've been able to count on. It's never disappointed me. It's literally the love of my life. I will do anything for it. Can you elaborate on those feelings and why you said that? Like, what does music really mean to you? I mean,
music and lyrics, for me, have narrated my life. I mean, when I was, 13 and my sisters were fake hippies and my brother was a real jazz musician, I used to go up the street on 86th Street to find records, and the experience of holding on to a piece of vinyl and reading the liner notes and seeing who was on the newest Steely Dan album, or seeing what Neil Young was saying, or reading my favorite liner notes of all time, which is on Bill Evans's album Alone. It's a way to sit back and project anything you want onto the lyrics and the music, and it's sort of like a reverse form of narration where you live through the music and the music lives through you. And the other thing is, for me, music is the one place, maybe sports too, is the one place where people who are truly different, can truly get along in an unfiltered way. You know, it's you know, sports too. Two people can argue about sports and truly love each other. They can't argue about politics and truly love each other.
Correct.
But
right.
but I can sit here and we can get in a fight over whether Ray Charles was a better singer than Ella Fitzgerald. But the fight will be a fight of love. It will not be an actual fight with underlying tension the way politics will be. I mean, we might pretend that we have political
Right.
differences, but we still respect each other. But we'll still go home to people and say, I just spoke to that Natalie woman. I can't believe she's a Republican. I can't believe she's a Democrat. It'll be, you know, it'll be a horror. But music is truly, truly unifying. Not always, but it is, for me, it's a truly unifying force. And I'm not saying that in some deep political or philosophical way. It's just nice to actually be friends with people.
Yeah,
And
I would
use
say,
music
yeah,
as a vehicle.
I would agree with you because I find it inspiring and it's incredible how music is literally the universal peace pipe in the
is.
world. You can disagree on a lot, but when good music is good music, it's amazing how it literally just spreads.
It is. And then every once in a while, you meet someone and they're like, oh, I don't really like music. And you're like, okay, I've just seen a UFO. You're like, I literally just had a UFO sighting. Like every once in a while, like I met someone recently and they said, well, I don't really like music that much. And I was like, this pretty much ends our relationship. You know,
where we're gonna
it's pretty
go
much
here.
over between us, but before it began.
Your recent projects, Love Not and Silent Sirens.
Yeah.
I was really excited to see that this was happening and coming out. Many people have been anticipating these releases. I can't wait to read the articles on the reviews. Was it something that you were nervous to put out? Because I feel like it's very personal. When I was listening to the lyrics, it's very.
They are.
You're literally putting your heart out there like that.
They are personal. That's the other thing I'm doing is it sounds super pretentious, you know, probably is, but like at some point, what you write lyrically can be intellectual, but you know, if it's not emotional, it will leave people cold. And so I am trying to output more, you know, greater emotional content in what I'm writing, you know, and Silent Sirens definitely reflects that. I mean, it's pretty weird, pretty weird, but it reflects that. And Silent Sirens is also a great story. That was a long, just what I was saying before, Natalia. It's a long, complex song, and then one day, our three singers were working it out with our piano player, and I was like, wait, it would just be better if we got rid of the intro and all of this crap and excess musical fat and just let the piano player and the three singers sing it. And they did, and it's beautiful. And it works. So that was an example of a real distillation or a creative destruction. You know, sort of, you come in with a boatload of ideas and fixtures, and you tear it all down. Almost like, you know, certain types of architecture, like brutalist architecture. By the time you're done, it's like, you know, 2 I-beams and some concrete. And so, like that's what I think is happening. That Silent Sirens is an example of that distillation. So yeah, I am definitely just unabashedly accessing my emotions.
You're very vulnerable, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love
and
that.
I'm older than you are,
yeah.
so I have decades more emotions to draw from you. Wait till you get older, and then you know you'll do it too.
I just feel whenever I listen to your music, I feel like a warm blanket and sitting on the couch and just listening. That's
cool.
Every time, and that's the feeling that I get.
Cool.
It almost feels like you do that intentionally.
Sometimes, sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes, absolutely.
I think it's fascinating.
What if it makes you feel something, then it's working at some level.
It makes me feel a lot, for sure.
So then cool.
So we are gonna have a little fun right now. Play me what it feels like to live in New York.
Oh, well, I did write a song called.
What's New York sound like?
I mean, what does New York sound like? It depends on what night, but I mean.
New York at night, actually. That's my favorite. New York at night. That's New York at night. Yeah. I would say that's New York at night.
Like
okay.
That kind of progressing, constantly ascending type. All right, so this I've been working on something like this for.
This is romantic. That's romantic.
Yeah, that type of stuff.
It makes you think
Still out
about,
of tune, but yeah. It's romantic out of tune. It's out of tune romantic. But there is something slightly out of tune about romance in general.
That is true. What about excited?
Oh, excited?
Yeah.
Okay. Excited? I don't know. That's
so
like
cool.
That's excited, insane excited.
Yeah.
But normal excited for just like we're going like whitewater rafting today. That thing, like that type of thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why I said whitewater rafting. Have you ever been whitewater rafting?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
I don't know why I said that.
I hope that's playing
But no,
when
it's
I
like
ever
we're
do
going.
go.
It's like whitewater rafting. That reminds me of floating down the river or whatever. Yeah. Exactly.
So, I've had the privilege to see you several times, and it's evident that you have the time of your life when you're on stage, but that energy transmits to everybody else that's on that stage with you, sharing in the moment. How do you go about picking the musicians that are in your band, and what do you look for in your vocalists, in your musicians, if they want to be aligned with you? Like, what is it that Gideon looks for?
I mean, honestly, it's like if you play pickup basketball, you kind of look around before you start playing, and you sort of size people up, and you sort of say like, I can't really know if any of those people are great basketball players, but I can kind of tell if they're good athletes and if they're flexible, and if they're acrobats. And so for me, there are two main criterion. Number one, are they actual musicians? Can they read a little music? Can they follow along with something complex? Do they deeply love music? And are they professionals?
Right.
Will they be there on time? Will they invest psychologically and emotionally in your projects because it's their job, not because they like it or don't like it? So I would say first and foremost, are they acrobats? Are they true acrobats? And that's why a lot of the musicians that are in my band have a pretty deep jazz background. Three singers certainly do, and that's Caleb Hawley and Alita Moses and Sonny Stepp, amongst others who join us, sort of intermittently. But and then of course our piano player Brian Reeder's a phenomenal jazz.
He's phenomenal.
He's phenomenal. And our drummer Jake and Zach. I mean, these are folks who are jazz trained. So I really like to be around acrobats who are generally better than I am musically and technically, which I would say every member of my band is probably a better musician than I am. And then the second thing that I think is the most important thing in picking people is weeding out the assholes, because when you build a band, it's a process of trial and error, and you sort of bump up against schmucks.
Yeah.
And
agree.
so it takes a while. That reminds me of some movie called Dinner with Schmucks with Steve Carell, but I don't know why that just reminded me of that, but it just did. But that's not what I'm referring to. No, but you get in rehearsal and you play gigs, and you get texts and emails afterwards, and you're like, wow, okay, so this person's kind of a schmuck, and you sort of have to weed those people out over time.
Well, because they ruin the environment, and you need to be happy when you're
ruin the
recording.
environment. Their egos are so fragile that if you criticize them in any way, they fall apart. They take it personally. I really want people who are fun people and nice people and secure enough so you can say, oh, I don't like what you're doing. And they say, okay, well, how about this? They don't retreat into a swamp of self-doubt and anger. They just say, oh, well, how about this? And so I think we've gotten to a point with these musicians, because they're acrobats, great musicians, and because they're confident, nice, fun people, that they can say to me, Gideon, no, what you're doing is no good. I know my piano player is constantly sending, my keys person, I shouldn't say piano player, I sound like from the 1950s, but my keys guy is constantly sending me stuff saying, dude, like this song is okay, but this doesn't work, or I don't really like this, and I like it. And I enjoy that kind of dialectic over music. So confident, nice, smart people who can laugh, and who are professional
Enjoy what they're doing.
and enjoy what they're doing, and then but I really want them to be acrobats, and I really want, for example, if you go up to Sonny Stepp or Alita Moses, two of our vocalists, okay, and you ask them to sing something that sounds like a jazz standard or like Ella Fitzgerald, they know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you make a reference to Ariana Grande, they know exactly what the hell you're talking about. If you talk about Steely Dan, they totally get that that's a different type of harmonic approach musically. And so nobody's hand needs to get held across the musical street. and everybody is truly, to be honest, pretty close to virtuoso, except for me, honestly.
So when you're on stage and you're performing, is there one song that you've created that gets you a little emotional? And if it does, is it hard for you to push through that song on stage live? Because I love when I have gone to shows and I've seen many musicians cry. They're feeling it. Does that happen to you?
I definitely do feel emotional. I don't cry because usually what overrides any crying is my nervousness that I'm going to fuck the song up. But I do. I fuck up a lot. I just make a lot when we play live.
Well, you hide it because nobody can tell.
It's literally like a mistake a minute, literally. But like it is what it is, right?
Right.
So, but I would say there's a song I'm releasing shortly called "Bring Me to the Book," which is a duet sung by Sonny Step, Alita Moses, and that's a pretty emotional song. So I would say that I tear up. I hate that expression, but I tear up.
Sure, it happens.
I get teary. I tear up when I hear that one. And then the song "Just Remember" I wrote about my son, who just watching him grow up and I wonder if he'll remember us cleaning his diapers. Although to be honest, my wife cleaned his diapers more than I did. But cleaning his diapers and me taking him fishing and doing all that stuff. So when I play the song "Just Remember," that's probably the one song where I think about the actual content of the lyrics the most.
What advice would you give out to any musician out there in Cameraland that would like to come to New York? What's your best tip and advice?
I mean, to be honest, I don't know that I should be giving out advice on something like that. But if you're asking and I'm telling, I would say come with material that you're ready to play. You will find some places to play.
You never know who's walking here.
Rockwood will give you a gig eventually, but have something to play. It doesn't have to be original, but like have something. Don't just say it's like there's a lot of great old movies about like movie executives, and there's great scenes where a guy comes in and he says, "I want to make movies," and there's like this old movie executive smoking a cigar, and he's got this big red face, and he goes, "Okay, what's the movie about? What's the plot? Where's your script?" And the kid's like, "Well, I didn't expect you to ask me that."
So be ready.
It's like fucking come and have at least one thing you can play, and have one thing you can sing, because you can get gigs. Like you can.
It's all gigs. Access here in New York City.
Yeah, I mean, so you can get a gig at 2 in the middle of the day at the bitter end if you want to.
Yeah.
You can. You can go play somewhere. So I would say have something ready to play, and also be prepared to have another job to support the fact that you're losing money playing music. And don't be lazy. If you have some kind of bizarre artistic snobbery against driving a cab or waiting on tables, then fucking stay where you are. Don't come to New York.
Gideon, I cannot thank you enough for today.
Cool.
But lastly, I would like to know, what do you want your legacy to be as a musician? And can you play that?
Can I
I'm like just trying to find an excuse to make you play.
What could I? Legacy as a musician?
Yeah.
I would like people to say that that's a competent songwriter.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that's it.
It's pretty humbling.
For people to say like, those guys are synonymous with putting out really quality songs. Sometimes they write incredible, beautiful, moving stuff. Sometimes it's not as good, but it's always good. It's like, I just want to be a restaurant where people go and they're like, it's always good there. It might be a little off on some nights, but it's always good. And that's what I would like.